Hello, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Sette. Once again, thank you for joining me today. It is the end of November. I've enjoyed a very busy time here at the Mystical Moon for the last few weeks. These trips seem to go by so very quickly these days. I will be back in April, and before you know it, April will certainly be upon us. I'm trusting everyone has enjoyed a beautiful, wonderful, warm and wonderful Thanksgiving, and we are certainly entering the season of light. So I'd like to share with you some of my insights regarding the astrological and spiritual possibilities that we can experience as we go through the month of December 2017. We begin December with a full moon on December 3rd. Also on December 3rd, Mercury will be making its final retrograde phase of 2017. And as I've said many times in the past, the Mercury retrograde phase is not a time to take cover, run and hide. All the planetary phenomena, including a Mercury retrograde, does serve a greater purpose. Mercury, because it's a planet of the mind, communications, it can also connect with technology, computers, travel, cars. Any of those elements can certainly be affected by the Mercury retrograde. So we always suggest during the Mercury retrograde, it's a time to go within and reflect. We recognize all the RE words during the Mercury retrograde: reflect, review, revisit, revitalize. The Mercury retrograde begins at the late degrees of Sagittarius during this cycle. And as I've said many times in the past, Sagittarius connects with the higher mind. During the Mercury retrograde, this Mercury retrograde phase, perhaps allow yourself to recognize whether or not or how clear your connection is with your higher mind, and to clear that connection with the higher mind. The higher mind is that self, is ourself, that part of ourself which exists in the spiritual realm, that is free of any interferences of the third dimensional existence. And when we have a clear connection, when the connection is very clear with the higher mind, we receive tremendous amount of insights, information, inspiration about our lives, our journey, whatever we might require to assist us on our spiritual path. So during this time of the Mercury retrograde, recognize what you might need to do for yourself personally to clear the connection with the higher mind. Also, too, in the sign of Sagittarius, Sagittarius connects with our beliefs, our belief systems. Perhaps it's a time to reflect and review those beliefs and belief systems which may no longer serve a greater purpose for you. And once Mercury moves direct, we begin to receive the clarity to whatever it is we may have reflected upon during the Mercury retrograde phase. And as I said, on the day Mercury goes retrograde, we also have a full moon. We have the full moon in the sign of Gemini at 11 degrees. And in the full moon alignment with the sun and moon, we have the planet Neptune, our nebulous friend Neptune, forming what I consider to be a very creative and dynamic alignment to the sun and moon. Neptune can be very tricky, and when Neptune is very prominent in a chart, in any type of configuration, we need to proceed with caution. But what that suggests is that we do not allow ourselves to be guided by what appears in the outer world. We need to remove ourselves from the illusion of the outer world and go within and connect with spirit and allow ourselves to be guided by spirit. What comes to form in the outer world in these next few weeks can be very deceiving, so we need to proceed with caution, connect ourselves with the energy of the earth, anchor yourself to the energy of the earth, so that when we go within and we ask spirit to lovingly guide us, the guidance that we receive comes from clarity and from a place of love. And as I said again many times, in order for us to receive very clear information from spirit, we have to be clear in our being, in our energy field, as well as being anchored to the energies of the earth. When there are interferences in the etheric connection with the higher mind, our auric field, then the information that we've received from spirit may not necessarily be as accurate and correct as we would like it to be. So prior to requesting the guidance from spirit, always clear yourself, ground yourself, It's certainly a beneficial exercise to incorporate in every day of our lives. Being our full moon is in the sign of communication, it's also another indication how we need to proceed with caution with communications that we're receiving from the outside world. As I said, there could be a tremendous amount of deception, confusion, misdirection that comes to us from the outside world, especially through conventional media outlets. So again, allow yourself to just proceed with caution. Keep these ideas, this information in the back of your mind. Spirit will never misguide us. As long as I said, as long as we are clear and grounded, Spirit's intention is to lovingly guide us, inspire us. And in these times where there may seem to be much confusion in the outer world, and that confusion may be prevalent as we go through these next few weeks, allow yourself to just go within, become very, very clear, and let Spirit lovingly guide you regarding what is unfolding in the outer world, as well as whatever you might need for yourself and your own personal spiritual journey. That Neptune energy also forms a beautiful alignment to Jupiter, who is in the sign of Scorpio. Neptune is in Pisces, Jupiter is in the sign of Scorpio. Those water signs do very much connect with the spirit realm. So that alignment with Neptune and Jupiter allows us to facilitate the process of receiving information in very fluid manners, as long as I said, as long as we are grounded and connected with the energy of the earth. Saturn is also in close proximity to Mercury at the time that it goes retrograde and on the full moon. So the benefit of that alignment is that it offers the it offers the benefit and of meditation, yoga, any discipline which strengthens the mind and the power of the mind. Saturn brings us a tremendous amount of discipline and determination when we use its energies in very positive ways. On the negative side, it can feel as though we are very burdened. We can feel as though the weight of the world is on our shoulders, and sometimes Saturn places restrictions, but I always emphasize Saturn may place restrictions, but it doesn't indicate, it's not suggested that those restrictions do not allow us to receive whatever it is that we desire. Saturn is also the planet of karma. So Saturn not only places restrictions, however, those restrictions sometimes will serve a greater purpose, because Saturn always brings us the rewards as well. Many times those restrictions allow us to proceed with caution and perhaps move in a manner that will allow us to create with the exact motion and whatever it is that we desire. So don't be afraid of Saturn. Many times Saturn gets a bad rap. All the planets do serve a greater purpose when we allow ourselves to recognize that purpose. So through this Mercury retrograde, another element to really encode in your consciousness, in your daily routines, is the discipline of meditation, which strengthens the mind, as well as incorporating yoga into your daily routines as well. Incidentally, as we go through these next few weeks, the full moon, when we compare it to the astrological chart of the United States, it forms an opposition, which is a full moon alignment, is when two elements are diametrically opposed to one another in the heavens. And the full moon forms an opposition to the ascendant, which is the rising sign in the chart of the United States, which that suggests that we are at a time of a great awakening regarding what is unfolding in the United States that may not necessarily be what we believe to be. I always suggest to, as always, let Spirit guide you. Let Spirit show you what it lovingly has with its intention, so that it might assist all of us on our spiritual journey, especially regarding much of the chaos that's happening here in the United States. And as I said many times, chaos will always precede great change, and we very much are in the thresholds of very great and powerful change that every one of us will certainly benefit from if we allow ourselves to just trust the process, to just trust Spirit, trust that we are being guided, trust that we are being protected, trust that all is well, because in the spirit realm, all most certainly is very well, and it can certainly very much be the case with humanity as well. Our new moon is on December The exact time of the new moon is 2:30 a.m. I forgot to just mention the exact time of the full moon for those who are interested. On December 3rd is at 11:46 a.m. Going back to the new moon, it's on December 18th and it's at 2:30 a.m. Our full moon is also in the late degrees of the sign of Sagittarius. It's connecting with Saturn at the sign of Sagittarius. What this is suggesting, and also too, the full moon is at that time is located in the third house of the new moon chart. I'm sorry, I may have said full moon, but I'm referring to the new moon here. The new moon chart, which is that third house, that's a sign of Gemini. It's a sign of communication. So once again, as we go through this time, we are given the opportunity to recognize how we need to be very clear with our communications and our thoughts. That third house element connecting with the sign of Sagittarius, which is actually the third house of the sign of Gemini, and its opposite is the sign of Sagittarius. So we are creating balances between the third dimensional thinking and the higher dimensional, more abstract thinking. Many times the third dimensional thinking can create limitations, especially if we proceed what we're observing from a place that is somewhat logical or very logical. Logic many times creates limitations. On this new moon, allow yourself to encode the openness and the receptivity to receive higher abstract knowing. Once again, we're emphasizing the connection with the higher moon, and at this, excuse me, the higher mind. I'm sorry here. We're emphasizing the connection with the higher mind, our awareness of this connection with the higher mind, as well as creating clarity in that connection so that we can lovingly receive inspiration. Sagittarius is the sign of the inspirationalist, the spiritualist. Perhaps use this new moon as a time to begin a new chapter of spiritual discovery, higher insights into your life as well, and with whatever that might be for you. Because when we offer these suggestions, they're very personal and very private to whoever it is that we are. So use this time to really recognize that perhaps it's time to alter our higher thinking, our thoughts, and our belief systems that will be much more suitable for whoever it is that we are now in our lives. You know, as we evolve on this creative evolutionary path, our thoughts and our perceptions and our beliefs and our belief systems certainly need to evolve with us as well. That will allow us to be very congruent from within and from without, so that we might experience harmony, balance. Whenever it is that congruency within ourselves, we certainly can experience balance with our outer experiences. And when we are very clear and grounded within ourselves, there's that congruency within, from what we're experiencing within, as well as what we experience in our outer world. The time of the balsamic moon is around December 14th. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact time. However, around the 14th is the time of that balsamic moon. As I've said in the past, it's a time of cleansing, clearing, purging. Perhaps it's a time to recognize what needs to be released regarding beliefs and belief systems that no longer serve a purpose for you. So at the time of the new moon, you begin a new chapter regarding this aspect of your experiences with a clean slate. On December 20th, Saturn will move into the sign of Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is the home sign of Saturn. That's where Saturn naturally resides in the zodiac. And Saturn transits through the sign of Capricorn because it's in the home sign, and it's the sign which connects with our career, our profession. It also connects us with our higher purpose, a greater purpose. That's what our goals, whatever that might be. So as Saturn moves through its home sign of these wonderful elements, we will be given greater assistance in achieving these goals for ourselves. Perhaps if you've been working towards a new career, a new profession, and you've allowed yourself to recognize whatever it is you might need to incorporate up until this point to facilitate that process and bring all of this to form. Certainly as Saturn moves through Capricorn, it will assist you in doing so. Also, to wherever Saturn is located in the chart, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it places limitations, sometimes it places restrictions, and may feel that the world or energy is working against us. In fact, it really is working with us when we allow it to do so. Saturn will allow us to slow down when necessary and receive the mental determination so that we might recognize whatever it is that we might need to incorporate to create our desires. Never be afraid of any planet, any sign, any alignment. There is always a higher vibrational experience we can benefit from, regardless of what some may appear to be as negative, malevolent. It's just a matter of perception. I also believe that in many years prior to this time, Saturn has been very misunderstood. And as I said, it does serve a purpose. Saturn, it can at times create restrictions. However, Saturn will always bring rewards because it's a planet of karma, provided we have done whatever it is that is required of us so that we might create and bring to form all that we desire. As Saturn goes through Capricorn, and it will be there for about 3-4 years, maybe more, I don't know exact, but that's about the time Saturn transits the sign. We will notice that Capricorn connects with big business, big banks, large corporations. We'll notice that as Saturn goes through the sign of these outer elements, perhaps those elements, the large corporations, the big businesses, will no longer have a grip on humanity to the point where certainly we can be at the mercy of these establishments. They will no longer have any power over us. And as we go through next year, more so as we go through 2019, I'm getting a little ahead of myself with all of this. But once Saturn connects with Pluto, and it forms a new moon alignment, which may not necessarily be until the end of 2018, probably going into 2019, we will see these large corporations, these large banks being dissolved because they really don't serve a purpose for us anymore. They're really not part of who it is that we are. And I certainly don't suggest to be fearful of that. Once again, this is another element for us to recognize our power and really empower ourselves and know that light and that power that is within us. So just observe, if you understand the placements of these planets in your charts, observe where Saturn and Capricorn are located in your charts, and remember that wherever element, whatever sector of the chart that Saturn touches, it is strengthening that part of your life. Keep that in the back of your mind. One final point, I'd like to mention that on December 21st at 11:28 a.m., we have the winter solstice. And the solstice is the equinox. They are PowerPoints, and they are wonderful times to really encode some auspicious energy, beneficial energy elements into our experiences. The winter solstice, it is an auspicious time to encode and bring the element of prosperity for the coming year. I always suggest burning bayberry candles at the time of the winter solstice to welcome and bring the prosperity as we progress into the coming year. At the time of the winter solstice, it's a wonderful suggestion to just surround yourself with the many wonderful blessings of the season, the ivies, the greens, the fragrances of the season, like cloves and cinnamon and oranges. All of these elements, at the time of the winter solstice, fill your home with these wonderful fragrances, because then all those wonderful elements that connect with prosperity are encoded into your home. And that is an auspicious time, as I said, to welcome prosperity for the coming year. We suggest that beginning on the winter solstice, burning a bayberry candle, and perhaps either burning continuously 3 or 4 bayberry candles till the time of the Little Christmas, which is on January 6th. This reinforces this element for a longer period of time. So the celebration, and I believe that, that period, that about 2-week or so period, connects with the 12 days of Christmas that we always hear about. So as I'm suggesting, at the time of the winter solstice, be very clear with setting in motion the intentions of prosperity, abundance, and receiving many, many, many blessings for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. Remember, we are in the season of light, and no matter what holiday we specifically connect with, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, the winter solstice, Kwanzaa, whatever that might be, it's all about returning to light. And during these times, let's all remember that we need to all return to that element of light, allow ourselves to experience that element of light in every day of our lives, so that not only during this season of remembering the light, we have those blessings, but throughout our year and throughout every experience as we continue on our spiritual journey. Once again, I thank you for sharing this time with me. We've had a most blessed experience here at the Mystical Moon these last few weeks in November. I'm wishing everyone so many blessings during this time, in the times to come. Care for yourselves, care for each other. Always stay in the light and stay in the place of love. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Many blessings. See you soon. Namaste.